Revolve Renewable Power is a developer and operator of renewable power projects in the US, Canada, and Mexico. The company just released fiscal year 2024 financial results, and CEO Steve Dalton is here to discuss the quarter, the year, and the current outlook. It's Tuesday, October the 29th. I'm Martin Gagel with Market Radius Research. Please remember this is neither recommendation nor investment advice. We're here to learn about the company. Steve, thank you very much for coming back with us, and it's great to see you having what looks like a very solid quarter and financial year. Please tell us the highlights of your results.
Yeah, no, nice to talk to you again, Martin. I mean, really happy with the results we put out today. I mean, I'd probably say a bit more than solid. You know, they're kind of a record revenue for the company since we went public a couple of years ago. So really happy with how the year turned out. I think if you look back to this time last year, we announced some forecasts to the market, which were kind of indicating revenue of around the 5 million level and EBITDA kind of break even. If you look at where we've ended up this year, you know, we're announcing revenue of 6.7 million, which is coming, you know, primarily from a deal that we done with NG a couple of years ago, which we've spoken about a number of times. But actually, what's been really good from my perspective is you can start to see that strategy that we've been implementing around, you know, building our own projects, operating our own projects, and then acquiring other operating projects as well. So within the financials, you know, there's around 1.3 million of recurring revenue, which reflects, you know, a couple of months of the Wind River acquisition, which we done back in February. And if you look at it on a go-forward basis, you know, there's around 2.5 million of kind of recurring revenue from our DG portfolio in that Wind River business. If you look at it then on an EBITDA perspective, you know, again, from break even to reporting today at 2.7 million positive EBITDA is, you know, really strong endorsement of what we've been doing. So, you know, particularly happy with that part of it. And then if you look at the balance sheets, you know, again, we benefited from a large milestone payment that we received back in June. Again, I think we've spoken about that a couple of times, but it's allowed us to end the year, you know, with over 3 million of cash in the balance sheets. You know, total assets have increased dramatically now to around 18 million. You know, so balance sheets looking a lot better. Cash on the balance sheets, a lot of positive things going on in the business. So overall, you know, extremely happy with where we've ended up with these full year financials.
Takes a little while to build up these assets, but the benefits is they have very strong margins and profitability from them. Can you talk a little bit about your margins, your profitability from your projects?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the project, but I think in general, you know, renewable energy projects are, you know, high margin. The energy component is generally free if you're talking about wind, solar. You know, so we have high gross margins. You know, I think in this particular financial year, a lot of it has been driven by, you know, those large milestone payments that we received from NG, which, you know, effectively that the last couple of payments we've had no development costs because all of that is now paid from NG. So, you know, they really hit the gross profit line in a good way. You know, very high margins of 90% plus. But in general, if you look across, you know, operating renewable projects, you will generally have high gross margins. You know, the key focus for me is, you know, what's the net cash flow coming out of the business. And like I said, we've announced kind of adjusted EBITDA 2.7 million, you know, on net income as well. So, you know, very strong from that perspective.
And this is not the last of the NG payments that are expected. Could you give us a little refresh on what's happened there and what you still expect to happen?
Yeah, well, just at a very high level, I mean, like we announced, and again, we have never been able to announce the specifics of the deal, but if you look at what we did announce, you know, a number of times at this stage, you know, that transaction was worth $62.5 to $50 million to us in total. So far, we've successfully completed a number of milestones, but we've only received, you know, around 6.4 million from that deal. So, you know, still a significant amount of cash value to accrue to shareholders, hopefully, as those projects continue to get successfully developed by NG. You know, the next two payments are linked to when they start construction and commissioning. You know, but there is still a huge amount of value for our shareholders from that transaction.
And your Wind River acquisition, that's still relatively new. Just a quick update on how that is progressing. Is it as expected, the performance of that project?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's like we're only, well, in terms of these financials, we only kind of get the benefit. We closed that deal in mid-February, so you're really only talking around 4.5 months in terms of how they're reflected in this particular set of financials. But yeah, year to date, very happy with the portfolio. There's some development opportunities there which we'll look to progress over the coming years. But the key thing, obviously, and key strategic decision around doing that acquisition was, that long-term recurring revenue base. And in the news release that went out today, we've kind of given some indication of what that number will be. We've indicated around 1.8 million on a go-forward basis. And obviously the team as well that came with it, so that we fully bedded in with the team to our own development efforts now, and we're starting to do more in the Canadian market, and that'll be a trend going forward for us.
And the DG, or distributed generation business, that seems to be coming along nicely as well.
Yeah, well, I think like we'd indicated in our Q3 that, progress was a bit slower than we would have liked. We put that down to, particularly in the Mexican market where you had elections coming up in the summer, that a lot of companies were kind of reluctant to make decisions. We have seen a bit of momentum coming out of those election decisions a number of months ago. So there is a lot of activity now starting to kick off again in the DG market. So, still very positive on it. It's really down to the team now to execute on the pipeline that we have. Like, we've always had a very strong pipeline, always had no issue in terms of finding new project opportunities. The key is really getting them executed and getting signed PPAs. But, from what we see in the short term, there's certainly a number of very interesting projects that we're working very hard on, and that we're hoping to get signed. I think the business itself, in terms of the operating assets that we have, you have seen some improvements year on year. So, I think we reported around 500,000, or just under 500,000 of, again, recurring revenue from that particular business unit. I think if you look back maybe 12 months, that was just over 300,000. So, okay, small numbers, but, a good improvement there. And a lot of that is down to optimization work that our team has done, plus, the addition of one or two new projects as well. So, still very positive on the sector. Definitely expect more over the next 12 months. We're really trying to push through some new projects in that whole area.
And with the, I have not followed the Mexican elections very much and the different parties. Was there anything material, good or bad, out of those in the political climate, let's say, for distributed generation projects for you, or any other kind of renewable power projects in the Mexican market?
Yeah, well, I think it's been an interesting couple of months. I mean, I think there was a lot of positivity, and I think I would have spoken about this before coming into this year around what we were hearing and seeing in the Mexican market. A lot of optimism starting to come back into it, obviously after a difficult couple of years. Both of the candidates who were running for election were positively disposed towards renewables, some more so than others. But, it was still both, from both candidates' perspective, a fairly positive policy framework. I think what you've seen over the summer is, because the incumbent party ended up with a super majority in two houses, there was a bit of nervousness that came in around what that may mean in terms of some key legislation that they might look to push through. The new president actually came into power earlier on this month, and I think it's been fairly clear that, they need one, that there's going to be a whole new energy plan for the entire sector across the country. Renewables are going to play, a very important part of that. And, you've had a number of ministers coming out very clearly saying, that private investment is going to play a key part in their plans. The details of this kind of energy plan are due out, I think, in the next couple of months. So we're all kind of waiting to see what that actually looks like. But certainly if you listen to the speeches over the last few weeks, it would certainly suggest that the renewable market in Mexico is going to have a much more, I would say, positive policy position from the government. So we're pretty hopeful. And, like, again, I think I've said this before, we've a very strong position in the market, both on the utility scale, where we have 500 megawatts of wind in the north of the country that are well progressed. We've been working on for a long time. We've been kind of waiting for things to become a bit more positive. And then on the DG side, like I said, now that maybe some of the uncertainty is starting to go out of the market, you're going to start to see companies make decisions around some of these energy projects, because energy is still a big issue in the country. You have a lot of uh, nearshoring, which again is a topic loads of people have spoken about, but it's a fact on the ground. You're starting to see factories being built, businesses setting up in Mexico, and it all requires more energy, and a lot of those companies require renewable energy. So the key trends are still there, still very strong.
Yeah.
You just needed that kind of positive framework from the government really to get the sector moving again. But based on what we've seen and heard, I think there's definitely cause for optimism in Mexico over the next kind of 12 months.
Yeah, and it fits, like you said, so well with the whole global reshoring efforts to bring production closer to home, and that is, I would think, a huge opportunity for Mexico being part of the North American group here.
Yeah, and particularly where we're based. I mean, it's a lot of it's not a lot of the activity you're seeing is kind of central, kind of northern Mexico. And that's where a lot of the new energy demand is, and that's where our projects are based. That's where the wind resource is. So, we feel we're very well positioned there with the assets that we do have.
All right. And just generally, your funnel, how is that looking across the company for new projects that you're developing, potentially developing, potential acquisitions, which you've been active with over the last year? Talk about that growth funnel pipeline.
Yeah, well, I guess the benefit of leaving one financial year behind you is you're a bit closer to the next set, and I think if you look forwards as to what's ahead of us, really, over the next couple of months or 12 months, if you want to go out to the full financial year to June, there's a number of really exciting things happening in the business. We've been reporting, regularly enough in terms of some of the utility scale projects we've been working on in the US particularly. So we've made some great progress on the Vernal battery storage projects. This year, we signed interconnection, significantly de-risking development there. From our perspective, that's more of a late-stage project now. The Primus Wind project is a 50-megawatt project that we've been working on again for a number of years, just at the final stages of interconnection there. And again, we've de-risked that from a development perspective quite a lot. Those two projects alone, we're expecting to have ready to build next year. And then we've recently done an acquisition, which I don't think we've had the opportunity to speak about, but we've acquired a 30-megawatt solar project in Alberta, mid-stage development, also targeting kind of for ready to build next year. So, between those three projects, you've got 100 megawatts of utility scale assets that will be, at the starting line when it comes to construction being able to start. So, very excited about those. On the DG business, it'd be much of the same. We're certainly looking to do more. Like I said before, we didn't do as many projects as we would have liked last year. So we're pushing hard to get some more momentum behind it. But you can certainly expect for us to be building more DG projects, in the short term. And the acquisitions is, I think that's more of a thematic thing that you're going to see in the sector going forward. It doesn't really go away. We're still seeing quite a lot of opportunities, similar to the one that we've done recently, this Alberta project, where we're seeing, both operating and kind of mid-late stage development assets under kind of 30, 40 megawatts that are coming to the market looking for people to purchase them, So we're constantly looking at a lot of acquisitions, we certainly don't progress a lot of them, but there's certainly a number of them out there that look very interesting. So, a lot going on in the company. Keen to keep building off the momentum for these strong results and keep delivering on the strategy.
Excellent. Well, Steve, I think we covered all the key points. Is there anything you want to highlight before we wrap things up, and any sort of final comments?
The combination of these results is, again, a lot of the points we've discussed over the last year, in terms of the deals that we've done, be it selling assets to NG, the milestones that we've achieved, acquisitions like Wind River. So, it's all very consistent with what we've laid out in our strategy. So we're just, step by step delivering on what we said. Expect to see more. We'll continue to remain active from, I think, an investor perspective. So, we'll hopefully have plenty of good things to be saying over the coming months.
Yeah, since we've been talking over the last few years, the growth of your revenues and production is quite remarkable. Congratulations on that. And thank you for joining us to give us an update here, Steve. Appreciate it. and have a great day. And I look forward to having you back on the back of future news. Have a great
Yeah,
day.
appreciate it. Thanks, Martin.